Welcome to the morning show. We're coming to you this morning on Channel 9 and on WJOP-LP Newburyport FM 96.3. We're also live streaming on Newburyport Community Media's YouTube channel at ncmhub.org. I'm your host, Mary Jacobsen, and I'm honored and delighted to welcome today's guests who are here to talk about the critically important topic of making schools safer. Lori Alhadeff, Lori Kitaygorodsky, and Alyssa Kitaygorodsky are here to teach us about Make Our Schools Safe, a nonprofit that was founded by Lori and Ilan Alhadeff, who tragically lost their beautiful 14-year-old daughter, Alyssa, to the brutal shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida on Valentine's Day in 2018. In their grief, Lori and Ilan founded Make Our Schools Safe, which is dedicated to protecting students and teachers at school. Their mission is to empower students and staff to help create and maintain a culture of safety and vigilance in a secure school environment. Lori Alhadeff is co-founder and president of Make Our Schools Safe. Lori, welcome. Thank you for visiting the morning show.
Hi, Mary. Thank you so much for having me here today.
It's my pleasure and my honor. Lori Kitaygorodsky is Director of Communications for Make Our Schools Safe. Lori K., welcome and thank you for visiting the morning show.
Thank you so much, Mary, for having us, really.
You bet. And Lori's daughter, Alyssa Kitaygorodsky, is also here. She's currently a student at the University of Florida, but she's also a graduate of Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School and a survivor of Parkland. And she is going to talk to us about the work she does supporting MOS by going out and giving talks about their work to high school assemblies. Alyssa, welcome, and thank you so much for taking time to visit the morning show.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Well, Lori Alhadeff, let's start. If you could tell us more about the origin story of Make Our Schools Safe. How did you and your husband come to the decision that you wanted to start a nonprofit, and what made you decide to focus on school safety issues?
Yeah, so after the tragedy, it became very apparent to my husband and I that we needed to take action and we need to do something to help create safer schools. And so for us, we decided, one, to create Make Our Schools Safe, to make a difference in the school safety of all students across the country, and two, importantly, to honor Alyssa's legacy and keep her memory alive. And so we have been going about school safety in many different ways, creating layers and layers of school safety protection, from one of them being Alyssas Law, which is a panic button in schools, and also Make Our Schools Safe clubs, where students help to create that culture of safety within their school.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's wonderful that you've done that. And I was hoping, we'll talk more about the Alyssas Law, because I know that's pivotal to the work that you do. And also we'll talk about the clubs more. But I was hoping that you could talk to us about your daughter, Alyssa, so that we can know her, so that we can remember her and honor her memory, and also discern her legacy in the work that you do with Make Our Schools Safe.
So this was my daughter, Alyssa. Alyssa was 14 years old, where she was tragically killed in her English classroom on February 14th in 2018. Alyssa was an amazing, vivacious, all-American girl. She just had such zest for life. She loved to play soccer. She wore the number 8, played the 8 position. She loved going to the beach, riding the waves in Long Beach Island, New Jersey. She loved hanging out with her friends. I found out later that she jumped off a bridge at Deerfield Beach. She was adventurous and took risks. Yeah, I love her so much. I miss Alyssa so much. And she just was an amazing, amazing person.
Mm-hmm. She sounds amazing. And to me, I think it's so important to remember the individuality of the people that we all lose, our whole planet loses, when there is a school shooting. And so thank you for showing us Alyssa's picture and for describing her to us. I really appreciate that, Lori. Well, as I mentioned, Alyssas Law is one of the main priorities of what you do. And it's based on the notion, as you put eloquently on your website, time equals life, which can't be overemphasized, I think. So could you please tell us, Lori, how you determined that, first of all, what is Alyssas Law? What is it? It's been, I think, passed in 2 states and is pending in a number of other states and is also pending at the federal level. So just tell us more about what Alyssas Law would mandate for schools and how you and Make Our Schools Safe determined that this would be a measure that would really help save lives.
Absolutely. So Alyssa's Law is a panic button where a teacher would be empowered to push that button, and it's directly linked to law enforcement so they can get on the scene as quickly as possible, whether it's a medical emergency or a life-threatening emergency like an active shooter situation. There could be different ways that Alyssa's Law could be implemented. It could be an app on the teacher's phone where they're pushing a button, whether it's a medical emergency, fire, or police emergency. The wonderful thing about that is that A, it's directly linked to law enforcement,
Yeah.
and then B, they can also receive information so they can more effectively respond in that life-threatening emergency. So if they get the information that the shooter's in the cafeteria and they're on the football field, they're going to more effectively respond with their class and run off campus. But also Alyssa's Law could be something like a badge that a teacher wears around their neck where they're pushing a button directly linked to law enforcement so help can get on the way. Or it could be a hardwired type of button on a wall that can be pushed and again, directly linked to law enforcement. It's so important that I keep reiterating that because time does equal life. In those life-threatening emergency situations, seconds really matter, and we need to make sure that help gets on the way as quickly as possible. You know, I always say on February 14th that if we had Alyssa's Law and the first person in the golf cart pushed the button, then it's geofenced the area, meaning they know exactly where that button is pushed, and then they can pull up the cameras to get eyes on the scene. Lives would have been saved that day, you know, especially on the 3rd floor. And, you know, an EMS, they can get to the scene, they could triage any of the victims. So that time, it's so important that communication is executed to make sure that help gets on the scene as quickly as possible.
You know, it's such a simple but brilliant idea, Lori, that it makes you think, why don't we have these already? Because it's clear how practical it is and how needed it is, because when people are afraid, it's often hard for them to think straight about what do I do? What do I do? And I think if you have something as simple as straightforward as an app on your phone that you can just push a button, or a literal button that you can just push, and that activates then a whole network of responders, and it gives information then that will be vital to saving lives right away. So I think it's just such a simple but life-saving idea. Tell us a little bit more, Lori. I know that it's been instituted now in at least 2 states. I think Florida and New Jersey already have instituted it. And how is it going? How is it being received in other states or at the federal level? Just tell us a little bit more about where things stand.
Sure. So yes, it is law here in Florida and then also in New Jersey. And our goal is to see Alyssa's Law as a standard level school safety protection in all schools across the country. Like our schools have their fire alarm pull station. Now every teacher will have their panic button. So we are working really hard to get this passed nationwide. We have 2 federal bills, the Alyssa Act and the Safer Schools Act. And, you know, they are moving through the legislative process. It's very challenging to get laws passed, as I'm sure you're aware. But this needs to be a top priority for our legislators. We need co-sponsors on our bills, and that will help to activate the bills and move them forward. And, you know, I always ask like for help, like how people can help. They can contact their congressperson and ask them to be a sponsor. It's one of our bills, the Safer Schools Act, is HR 2717. And that just having them be a co-sponsor will help make the bill move faster. We also have Alyssas Law pending and going through the legislative process in Virginia and also in New York.
Wonderful. And we'll get you to repeat those legislative numbers at the end of the show, and we'll revisit that topic. But I'm also curious, I would think that teachers and students and staff in schools would be very supportive of this idea because it solves, the problem of having to decide what to do. Have you been finding that students and teachers are rallying to the cause?
Yes, no, absolutely. This is a tool in their toolbox. It's another option for them in that life-threatening emergency situation to be able to have this button, this app, this badge to push and know that it's directly linked to law enforcement and they're getting eyes on the scene and help is on the way. Yeah. And yeah. I think it's paramount, that we empower all of our teachers across the country to be able to have this tool to be able to use in this life-threatening emergency situation.
Yeah. Lori, I know you share a success story about Alyssas Law on your website. I was hoping you could share with us today a success story about the impact you've already seen it make.
Sure. So we had, there was a student that they were doing the Pledge of Allegiance and all of a sudden she just passed out. The teacher immediately pushed that panic button on her badge that she was wearing and help got on the scene very quickly. They got the AED there. They were able to resuscitate the students and get them to the hospital, and they ended up saving that student's life. You know, because everything was executed in such a timely manner, and that student is healthy and alive today, and we're so excited about the success of that story.
Yeah, it truly is a success story, and it just underscores the point you make that time equals life, and this button and Alyssas Law will help make sure that help is available very quickly in all kinds of emergency situations. So thank you for that. Well, Lori Kay, I know you're Director of Communications, and I would like you to talk to us about another program of Make Our Schools Safe, and that's your clubs. So could you tell us about the Make Our Schools Safe clubs, what they do, who joins them, and where they are?
Of course. Thank you, Mary. So our Make Our Schools Safe clubs are on campus. They're in high schools around the country, and they were really created with the same goal in mind, to create a culture of school safety. We have 10 active around the country right now, and 2 are in the process of being readied for implementation for this next upcoming school year. We have them in Georgia, in New York, in Florida, and we'll have one coming in September in Wayland at Wayland High School.
Here in
so we're really excited. Yes, we're really excited about that. The most important part, I'd say, is that, Lori has always said your voice is your power. And these clubs really are the epitome of that. They give these students an opportunity to really voice their own concerns about what's going on in their own schools, make that their priority, and actually do something about it to change what they see needs changing. I'd say the most exciting development that we've had in recent months is that Make Our Schools Safe clubs were invited to participate in a program called Invent to Prevent.
Oh, yes, there's one at Newburyport High School. We did a show about them. Yes, absolutely. Sorry to interrupt you, but I got excited hearing about it.
No, not at all. It's so exciting. So Invent to Prevent is funded by the Department of Homeland Security's Office for Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention. And Invent to Prevent is working with 5 of our Make Our School Safe clubs at the moment to have each club individually design, implement, and then measure the success of a unique social or digital product, tool, or initiative to bolster school safety that they create. So it really gives them this amazing opportunity with this incredible bolstering and support behind them of the Department of Homeland Security, the McCain Institute, and Invent to Prevent, all employees helping to actually make this a reality for these kids. So we're really happy about that.
Oh, that's very exciting. I'm delighted to hear about that because it's a wonderful program, and because they get young people themselves are invited to create a program. The idea generates with them, and then they operationalize it and then report back on it. And I think that it's just a wonderful idea to cultivate and support the leadership of upcoming generations, because, and Lori A., I think you've talked about this too, that the hope for change lies with younger generations who are coming up the pipeline and hopefully will continue will vote in massive numbers, you know, and will hopefully be able to create change that has befuddled other generations. We may have laid the groundwork, but I think it's just wonderful that you're starting the clubs and getting students involved, because really, who has more stake in safer schools than the people who have to go to school every day? And so to engage them and get them involved and get them to have a voice, because voice is power. So I think that's wonderful. And I'm really excited that we have one in Wayland, Massachusetts, and hopefully there'll be more. So thank you for that, Lori K.
Of course.
Alexa, you're Lori's daughter, Lori K's daughter. And I know that one of the things that you've done in order to support Make Our Schools Safe is you go out and give talks to high school assemblies. And I was hoping that you could talk to us about what made you decide that you wanted to do this, and what do you share with the students that you talk to, and what kind of responses do you get from them?
Well, after the shooting happened, obviously, like, we were all very upset, and I heard that Lori was starting this foundation called Make Our Schools Safe, and a bunch of people were telling me I should go to the meeting and see what it's about, and I hated public speaking. I hated talking in front of people. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't know what I'm going to have to do. Whatever, I ended up going, and I'm very happy I did, obviously, but we went to New York a month after, right? Like about a month after the shooting happened, and we spoke in front of a million different platforms, a bunch of different people, and then we came back to Florida and we continued to grow the foundation. And then Lori and I started going to schools all around Florida, talking. And for me, I feel like it's very different when I speak and when Lori speaks, because I'm just the same age as most of these kids, so I like think how they think, and talking to them for me is very rewarding, because I tell them my story, my experience in that building, what happened to me, what happened to my classmates, and then I tell them about Make Our Schools Safe, about starting a club, about what they can do to make sure they're the safest they are at school, or at least try. And I just think that Make Our Schools Safe and Lori and everything has helped me in so many ways, not just to grow from the shooting and have a positive outlook on life after the shooting, but also for myself, like public speaking, feeling comfortable with myself. Like, it's definitely helped me a lot in a lot of different ways.
Well, thank you for doing that, because you know, public speaking is not an easy thing for people to do at any age. And think, when we had a brief meeting to prepare for this show, I shared with you that public speaking is actually listed as the #1 fear for the majority of people. It's right up there. It's more than spiders, more than heights, public speaking. And so, and I hear that you felt that, but you overcame it, which I think is a testimony to how much you care about the work that you're doing. And I'm grateful to you for that, and impressed that you're doing it. I'm curious to find out from you, Alexa, what kind of things do students ask you?
I think the top question is, were you scared? I think that's what I get a lot, definitely from like older students and older kids. They ask, like, do you feel safe going to an airport or a concert, or do you feel more safe at your high school now? And I mean, the answer has probably changed now because I'm not home with my parents anymore. I'm in a completely different place, basically by myself. But the questions like vary. Sometimes it's ones that are like just questions I would never want to answer, and they're just really uncomfortable. But most of the time, they're like educated questions.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I can understand that people would want to find out were you scared, because I think everybody's kind of scared when we think about it.
No, definitely. It's just when you ask that, I feel like they want a huge answer, but all I could say is just yes. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know. There's
yeah,
nothing else really to say to that, but
yeah. I mean, that's honest, because I
yeah.
think that, school shootings, we can forget about them in our daily life, but then another one will happen and we go, oh my God, not again.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like this massive cloud formation that just kind of hangs over the country, but hangs more heavily and darker over families that have been impacted by it, or Lori, like you, have actually lost someone to it. But because they happen in what seems like a random fashion, anybody anywhere in all schools, it's going to be in the back of your mind. And so that's why I'm so appreciative that you all are doing this kind of work. And Alexa, I'm appreciative that you're going out and actually talking to students, because you're right. You can talk to them about the actual experience of being in a school where this happened.
Yeah.
And when they ask you, were you scared? They're asking, of course, about themselves and then
100%.
anticipating what it might be like.
Yeah.
But you also survived. How has it affected you, Alexa, to give these kind of talks? Has it been helpful to you to be able to go out and talk openly in public with high school students about this?
Um, I think it's definitely helped me just cope with everything that happened. I remember the first time we spoke, I don't remember what school it was. I walked off crying. I was hysterical because I'd never spoken about it to all these people. And I never really, after the shooting, my friends and I kind of just holed up in our rooms. Like, we just hung out, didn't really talk to anyone. And then I start speaking in front of all these people. So I think that also helped me be more comfortable talking about it, because unfortunately, when you tell someone you're from Parkland, that's what they think of, especially when you go to college and you're meeting all these new people. The first thing everyone asks is, oh, where are you from? And then when they figure out you're from Parkland, they ask you about it. So
Yeah,
I think it's helped me just like be more comfortable in situations, to just be like accepting of what happened and
yeah,
like speak about it and try and find a positive from it.
yeah, yeah. Which is a it's important that we be able to talk about these things, because being able to talk about them means that we're not tempted to deny or to forget. And even though I know that it, as you were saying in the beginning, it was very hard, and I'm sure it's never going to be easy. But the more you talk about it, the more you make it possible for other people to talk about it and to ask honest questions about it. And I think that's a really good and a healthy thing, because it's so important that we not forget, and that we look for solutions to somehow create, well, Lori, safer schools, right? Safer schools, to be preventive. And so the work you all do is just wonderful. I want to return to you, Lori Alhadeff, and ask you just a little bit about, is Make Our Schools Safe, is it doing what you hoped it would do? And is it helping you to be able to do this work?
So I think that it's beyond what I've hoped that Make Our School Safe would do. I know that Alyssa is saving lives through the passage of Alyssas Law, and we will continue our work to get it as a standard level school safety protection across the country. And, for me personally, and for my family, for us to continue Alyssa's legacy, it's so important. And I feel like I have to be Alyssa's voice, since hers was silenced from the shooting, and to continue to make sure that school safety is a top priority in our legislators, in their, in their actions. Because we do have to keep continuing creating these different levels of protection, keep having funding appropriated to school safety in all schools. And, school safety is mental health. School safety is school hardening. There's many layers of school safety. And I think we just need to continue to have that conversation, and through my nonprofit organization, and through the students in the Make Our School Safe clubs, continue to talk about it. And, we want to spread this across the country, and we want school safety to be a top priority. The students, Alexa, other students, they see stuff on their Snapchat, and it's so important that they see something, say something. And when they're reporting this, violence that could happen, it's preventing the violence from happening before it happens.
Yeah. Which is the goal, to prevent.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, let's return to what people can do to be helpful, to be supportive. And there's different pieces to that. I know one of them is supporting the legislation that is pending, because it takes a long time for any piece of legislation to get through. And the more co-sponsors, the better. And the more phone calls to legislators from voting citizens, the better. So Lori, could you once again repeat the names and numbers of those laws that are pending?
So I'll make it even easier. If you go to our website, it's makeourschoolsafe.org.
Yes, we see.
And there we have all the information. If you click on Alyssas Law, you could scroll down. We have it done by state, by the federal bills. And then you just clicking on there. And so the Safer Schools Act, HR 2717, and it automatically will take you to the legislation. And, we ask, if you know a congressperson, to please ask them to be a co-sponsor of either the Alyssa Act or the Safer Schools Act.
Wonderful. Thank you. Are there other ways that you encourage people to either support your organization or in general to support the cause of creating safer schools?
So please go to makeourschoolsafe.org. You can join our email list, which then you'll be getting, periodically different emails about what's going on with Make Our Schools Safe, the different legislation that gets passed, our different events that we have ongoing. You can make a donation to the organization. You can sign up on the contact list. Even if, I've had people in California help me, with technology. Volunteers can come from anywhere. And so we love our volunteers. You might have a skill set that you're great at social media. We welcome that support. So fill out that contact information on our website, makeourschoolsafe.org. Also, please follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Make Our School Safe 17, Instagram, Make Our School Safe. But again, you just really need to go to makeourschoolsafe.org, and all the information is there. If you'd like to start a club in your high school, please contact us. We will send you all the information. It's free. We even give a $500 gift card towards the club to help them with their club. And so we would just love to hear from you.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And it is an excellent website, just chock full, as you've said, with information and ways that you can participate in supporting Make Our Schools Safe. And in general, just figuring out what you might want to donate, what skill set you might have that would be able to be of help, no matter where you live. because school safety is a global issue, really. So I can't thank the three of you enough, first and foremost, for doing the work that you do, because it's so important. A safer schools make for a safer world and a better world. So thank you for that. Lori A., thank you for turning your grief into something so positive and so life-saving. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you.
And Lori K., thank you also for teaching us about the school clubs and for the work you do. And it's so exciting to hear about Event to Prevent and the schools participating in that. Thank you for being on the show today, Lori.
Thank you for having us.
And Alexa, thank you so much. I'm so admiring and appreciative. I know how hard it is to go out and talk about something that's as traumatizing as what you went through. And yet you're having a positive impact every time you go out and do the hard thing of talking about your experience and reaching out to people who need to talk about it. You are helping create a safer world because you're making it possible for people to talk about their worries and their fears and their concerns, and that gives people hope. So Alexa, thank you for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So that's it for today, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll join us next week at 9 on Channel 9 for the morning show. If you miss any part of today's show, it will be available for viewing on Port Media's YouTube channel playlist for the morning show at ncmhub.org. Just click on the YouTube icon and scroll down. Each show will also air on WJLP FM 96.3 on Friday at 8 a.m. and again the following Tuesday at 4 p.m. and Wednesday at 3 p.m. It'll also be available as a podcast on the SoundCloud. Just go to ncmhub.org and click on the cloud icon in the upper right-hand corner and scroll down. That's it for today, everybody. Thank you all again so much. Bye now. Bye-bye.